Week 5 on Monday, September 22nd, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Bax, on Sunday, Ohio State offered a scholarship to Alex Stump from Lakewood St. Edward. The 6'3", 190-pound Stump is a four-star prospect who is ranked as the country's number 38 wide receiver in the 2015 class, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. He is verbally committed to Kentucky, also has offers from the likes of Nebraska and Stanford. Bax, I like this offer. Now, hopefully Ohio State can get him to flip from Kentucky. He didn't want to go on the camp circuit this summer, for those that are wondering. He wanted to commit before then. He didn't want to have to go prove himself at camp. So he committed back in May. I think he's a strong candidate to flip. What are your thoughts about this offer, Bax?
Well, it's another tall kid at wide receiver. That's one of the positions we've been desperately trying to hit. My first thought when I saw it, though, was, wow, what does this mean about Cager? Do they think we're not going to land Cager, who is that same type of player, that for the typical tall player? But after looking into it a little more, I think this is just a case of Ohio State recognizes there's a in-state player who is worthy of an Ohio State offer. He fits the position in need, and he's committed to frickin' Kentucky. So I think Ohio State thought there was a great chance to flip him and land a four-star talented kid at home. I think it's as simple as that, and I do think he's going to flip. I mean, who would stay in Kentucky over Ohio State and Stanford? That doesn't compute on any level for me for playing football.
I'm with you. I mean, maybe loyalty would be the only factor, but I think that only goes so far. You're talking about a very important decision, the most important decision he's made in his life up to this point. I think you're right. I think he's going to stay in-state and go to Ohio State. If he goes out of state, why not go to Stanford? Moving on, this is right in your wheelhouse. You'll love this conversation. That school up north was dominated at home on Saturday by Utah, 26-10. Bax, there is no way Brady Hoke survives this season. Unfortunately, I have a couple of good friends that are Michigan fans. I don't know what their parents did to them, but we grew up together, and I'm still friends with these guys. They are jumping off bridges. They're right, and they're done, and I'm sure they represent the entire fan base. I mean, there's just no way Brady Hoke's returning. So let's talk about who's going to be Michigan's next coach. Now, the San Francisco 49ers are off to a rocky 1-2 start. Jim Harbaugh does not get along with management in San Francisco, Bax. I think the stars are aligning for Harbaugh to be Michigan's next coach. What do you think?
I don't buy it on any level. Let's be honest here. This is Jim Harbaugh. He's a guy who was in the Super Bowl not too long ago. He's got family in San Francisco. Most people don't know Jim Harbaugh is divorced and has young kids in the Bay Area. He's also remarried. He likes being in the Bay Area. Plain and simple, I think if the Niners are dumb enough to get rid of Jim Harbaugh, then the Oakland Raiders are going to fire whoever they have coaching and beg him to come coach their team instead. The Harbaugh brothers are the Michigan fan pipe dream. It's like talking about getting Les Miles back whenever Lloyd Carr retired. Didn't happen. Plain and simple. Wasn't going to happen. Les Miles was playing for a national title. Just like the Harbaugh brothers are competing for Super Bowls every year. I think they're delusional in a way. If they think that the Harbaugh brothers or Les Miles, who's in his 60s and frankly wouldn't be that good of a fit at Michigan because you can't ever sign, they don't really have a long list of coaches. Harbaugh is kind of like their Urban Meyer in waiting. Except Urban Meyer was unemployed and ready to go. Jim Harbaugh's coaching the San Francisco 49ers, and even if they're off to a slow start, I highly, highly, highly doubt that the Niners are going to finish, something so terrible that they can justify completely firing him here. And he's such a hot commodity at the NFL level. I mean, this is the same Jim Harbaugh that used Stanford and went straight to the NFL with the 49ers because he wanted to stay in the Bay Area. Plain and simple. I don't think they get any of the Harbaughs. I don't think they get Les Miles. I think their smartest thing they can do is go out and find the best young coach that they can, but they won't hire anybody if Dave Aranda is the AD who doesn't have explicit Michigan and Big Ten ties. That's why Brady Hoke got the job last time. He got it by default because he was the only one who wanted it that fit all their narrow lane of criteria. That's why they hired a guy with a losing record as a head coach. That's why their head coach now is 4-8 in his last 12. That's why their football team is a disaster, because they hired a bad football coach, plain and simple.
I hope you're right. And everything you said makes sense, and I've used the same arguments about Harbaugh. Just something, my gut feeling now says something could be happening. I hope you're right there. Because Harbaugh's the one guy that could turn Michigan around. What's that?
10% chance at best.
Well, maybe there is, and I just think that he's the one guy that could turn Michigan around quickly, so I hope it doesn't happen. Focusing back on the Buckeyes, Ohio State is a 14-point favorite over the Cincinnati Bearcats this coming Saturday. That surprised me when I first pulled that up and saw it was 14 points. And I thought about it more. I thought, you know what, their defense has looked pretty bad against a couple of bad teams. Toledo's really bad. Miami University's not very good. So maybe that 14 points, I see this being a high-scoring game. I think Ohio State, that'll be tough to cover, though. What are your thoughts? You think Ohio State's going to cover that spread?
I think it just honestly depends how Ohio State's pass defense goes. I have no doubt that Ohio State's going to put up a big number on offense. Cincinnati's defense is not impressive. They barely beat Miami of Ohio last weekend. Toledo scored 34 points on them in the second half. I mean, it's just the type of thing where they have a very good quarterback in Gunnar Kyle. They have some pretty decent receivers who are going to throw the ball, and they're going to get some scores, and it's going to annoy us. But the rest of their team is, compared to Ohio State, is not that great. I mean, in many respects, they're kind of like an Indiana kind of team where they have a great offense and an okay defense. Except, unlike Indiana, they don't have to play tough competition very often. 14 is roughly where I could see this ending up here. This is just going to be a very good test of Ohio State's new pass defense. If they're as good as I think they are, if the indications of them being right on top of receivers when they catch the ball, not allowing a 20-yard pass in 3 games, their general positioning, if all that really plays out like we think it's going to, then it's going to be about the right number. I mean, people in Vegas don't do this for a living to lose money either. But I just, in general, I think the Cincinnati game, a lot of people are scared of this game. I'm not necessarily scared of it. I think there's an opponent to be respected, and if everything goes wrong and everything goes to hell in a handbasket, the stars align, then you could lose the game. But much like Virginia Tech, it's one of those games that most of the time you're going to win. And I can't see anything going just as consistently wrong for Ohio State this year as the Tech game did. Cincinnati's going to come in with a good quarterback and some nice receivers and not much else. And that should be enough for Ohio State to walk out of there with a fairly respectable win.
Gunnar Keel finally found a home, his 4th school, and the first time he's played for a school. He picked Indiana, then he chose Notre Dame, then he switched to LSU, never played for any of those schools, never enrolled, and then finally picked Cincinnati. So, and now as a third-year sophomore, he's finally making his debut.
Should have just stuck with Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana with a big win over the weekend over Missouri. That was nice. And
I think the 10th best team in the Big Ten beat the SEC East defending champions. That's right. Go Big Ten.
And Iowa with a nice win over Pitt. That was good to see. So we'll see about Gunnar Keel. I think he's going to have a rude awakening. He's gone up against a couple of very weak defenses. I think Ohio State with his revamped defense with Chris Ash, I think they're going to throw some things at him he's not expecting. It's going to be a fun game. Thanks very much to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. I want to let the listeners know what's on the site today. Bill Kurlick's What I Am Hearing is already on the site for subscribers. It includes items on Nyheim Hines, Carlton Davis, Robert Washington, and much more. We'll have the boarding house posted around noon for subscribers. And Urban Meyer's, the return of the Urban Meyer Monday press conferences today. He took last week off, so we'll chat with Urban Meyer around 11:45 a.m. We'll have a story plus video on that. Plus, we're going to interview a couple of assistant coaches and players after we talk to Coach Meyer. So look for stories, bolts, and videos late this afternoon on what the assistants and the players have to say. Thanks again to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.